huge part of Donald Trump's historic ability to get through difficult times politically is that the right-wing media is completely deferential to him. They'll cover for him. They don't cover stories that are super important. They ignore Epstein for literally months, that sort of thing. But on some of these economic issues, even Fox News is starting to not do that so much. Obviously, their polls for some time have reflected poorly on Trump. Some of the hosts ignore them, some don't. That's always funny. But Donald Trump sent Kevin Hassett, one of his economic people there, and Fox presents some bad news, and this guy is just very ill prepared to message around that. Take a look.
Year-to-date job cuts show an increase of 54%. That seems like a troubling number. What's your take on it?
Well, don't forget that there's hires and there's fires and there's separations and new jobs, and so net job creation for the year is very positive. But the flow of jobs in and out is a little bit higher. There's a little bit more turnover. A lot of times that could happen because people feel like they're actually able to get another job if they leave this job.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory right there. Of course, when you poll people specifically about whether they think they can get a job, they don't think that they can. 47% of US adults are not very or not at all confident they could find a good job if they wanted to. That is up 10 points from the last time the question was asked in October 2023. So that wasn't presented to Hassett there, but But if you're an economic advisor and you're seeing this massive jump in firings, and there's a bunch of different potential explanations, and you conveniently land on one that reflects well in the economy, shouldn't you Google it or whatever? Ask ChatGPT at least, some minor bit of fact checking on that. Instead, he just smiles like a jackass and does nothing to make it his job right there is to make it seem as if the economy's overall good. But when bad news happens, don't worry, we hear you, we understand that, and we're working on it. But they're just denying. They're denying and trying to deflect in usually a pretty dishonest way. We have an example of that, and it has to do with Hassett talking about Black Friday.
How would you rate economic conditions today? And if you combine only fair and poor, you get 76% on that poll. And then we have who is more responsible for current economic conditions, President Trump or President Biden? And we have Trump at 62%. So, I know that we've heard from you, we've heard from Scott Bessent saying that things are going to feel very different in the beginning of the year, and everybody hopes that that's absolutely accurate, and we look forward to that. But what would you say to people who are answering the survey that way, Kevin?
Right. Well, one of the things that we've seen and we've studied over the last couple of weeks is that when there's a government shutdown, then the things that we economists call the soft data, the survey data, tend to really, really tank because everyone's in a terrible mood because Washington can't work and the government shut down and they're worried about how bad it's going to be. But the hard data are what do people actually do with their lives, with their pocketbooks. And so, for example, we just saw the best Black Friday ever.
Okay, so we're going to return to the best Black Friday ever. I love how quickly he skates past 42% of the country saying the economy is poor. Only 4% say excellent, which I imagine is the 4% of richest Americans. So ignore that, it's not a big deal. Also, it's probably just the government shutdown, so it doesn't actually mean anything. Except the government shutdown was Donald Trump being willing to do real economic harm to millions of families because he didn't want them to get food stamps and he doesn't care if their health insurance prices go up. That's not just bad vibes, that's substantive. And that is going to happen now because he succeeded. Now they're going to be under even more economic pressure than they already were. So how is that better? Also, by the way, since I'm trying to get you to start Googling stuff, what were people saying before the shutdown? Do you think that they were super hot on the economy and it was just the bad vibes of the shutdown they got them to turn in the other direction? I don't think so. But anyway, he says best Black Friday ever. Now, technically, overall US online shopping increased 3% on Black Friday, but that was driven by a 7% jump in the average selling price, which means that stuff was just more expensive, which, yeah, tariffs and everything, it is more expensive. Order volume went down 1% versus last year. Shopping carts were also smaller on Black Friday as units per transaction dropped by 2%. But Brett, I would say, even if all those numbers were up for Black Friday, I don't know that the biggest sale day of the year drawing unnatural interest is proof of a good economy. It might be proof of a desperate economy, but it didn't even happen that way. What do you think?
Right, no. this is something that folks, you know, the guy looks like a hot air balloon, first of all. He looks like a suit and a hot air balloon is taking off. And this part is like kind of this, it looks exactly like a hot air balloon. His job is essentially to make you feel good when you feel terrible. And it's so pathetic that that's the guy they send out to do that. In politics, this dude is better off changing the discussion than he is trying to convince us that, you know, the economy is strong. People know it's not. I mean, what is this guy gonna say, I guess, to his credit? Like, his job is actually just to be that scoop of vanilla ice cream that's slowly melting so that you don't remember it. And you just move on with your life. But like, they're just trying to Jedi mind trick Americans into thinking that everything's fine here, dude, because people bought more like single serving K-cups with those dynamite doorbusters on websites rather than brick and mortar stores. Like, there's so much about a spike in essentially Black Friday deals online / Cyber Monday deals that's like, this is sad for the American economy. There's nowhere to go and see that it's doing well. You buy stuff on internet, but internet is pricier now, and you don't get to see that all reflected in the world. All you do is go out and see the empty old stores that no longer do business because people are buying stuff on Black Friday, and even that number is, as you say, essentially doctored, and thanks to how much affordability has suffered in the meantime.
They are just desperate for anything that they can pitch as a win. I saw a tweet, and I'll end with this. It was from like the official White House Twitter account, and it was like, Donald Trump delivers once again for the American people. Coffee, blah, blah, blah. Like 4 products are now exempt from tariffs. I'm like, you don't get to brag about that. You're the one who tariffed them. Like, this is a retreat. Don't like cheer for yourself as you're running the other way. It never should have been tariffed. So anyway, I don't know that that's going to win a lot of people over, and they don't seem to have a lot of good strategies. They don't have a lot of good messengers either. You know, JD Vance trying to convince everyone that it's the immigrants that are causing these problems, but that's what they said during the campaign. Like, people seem to support them, thinking that mass deportations would help with all this stuff. But like, you guys are telling us you've done the mass deportations, it's succeeding, and yet it's not solving the problems. You're kind of undercutting your whole argument.
If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?